Hey YouTube, it's me, BrandonColonel again. Next knife review that I've got for you guys is on the Spyderco Positron. Overall, with the knife, I wasn't really all that impressed. But it's more just the minor things for me. As far as how the knife overall actually functions, there's not really anything bad that I can really say. Except for, like I said, just a few minor things. It's just that overall the knife didn't really blow me away, and I ended up not really liking it, just personally because of the way that it looked. I liked the way that it looked in pictures, but for whatever reason I get it in my hand and I just didn't care for it. It's just one of those knives that it just didn't really speak to me that much, I guess. Let's see, let's get the direct specs out of the way. It has a 3-inch S30V drop point blade with a full flat grind on the blade. The Spidey hole is non-usable. It is simply there for decoration. It is fully a flipper design. It's actually got a fairly light detent on it, so don't exactly expect it to have a very hard detent. I was actually expecting it with a flipper tab this small to have a harder detent than it does, but the way that it's positioned, you really don't need a rock hard detent. It is on ball bearings, so therefore it does have a fairly smooth action. It's not the smoothest action I've ever felt, but it definitely is smooth enough for me to say that it is better than, say, just a budget line. It has one of the wire pocket clips that you see on a lot of Spydercos, but I don't like how it wiggles around that freely. I don't care for that. And especially when I was actually testing it, then I could feel it just moving around in my grip. Particularly when I was really bearing down on it. I just didn't care for that at all. It does have very minimal liners, so it's pretty much all a carbon fiber frame with just very, very minimal liners, and the liners are like paper thin. So if you're hard using this thing, I might not completely trust a liner that small. I mean, that is just absolutely paper thin. And so yeah, I'd be worried about hard using this thing as a true beater work knife. So there is that. I'd really only use this for more light to medium cutting chores. I would not go trying to do anything really difficult with anything like this with liners that small. Let's see. It is a stonewashed blade, 4-inch handle, so 7 inches overall. There we go. Things that I didn't like at all. The handle came up to a pretty fine point right here that I just really didn't like at all. So I actually ended up grinding it down just a bit and smoothing it out with a couple of my grinding stones, or yeah, just my whetstones, and finished it up with a diamond file, so that way you can't really even tell that there was any work done. So I was able to finish it off pretty finely. Let's see, the pocket clip actually is swappable to the left-hand side, so you can carry it right or left, but it also is tip-up only in the pocket. So there is that. Let's see. As far as actual use, it is incredibly sharp. I wouldn't say that it's the sharpest thing I've ever carried, but it does have a really nice hair-popping razor edge, and it does keep it for. One sec.
Just go out there. Yeah.
Sorry guys, just had to stop for a minute. Okay. Let's see. Trying to remember exactly where I left off, but I'll just start somewhere. So, stonewash blade. Didn't really have a razor sharp hair popping edge, but it was very keenly sharp. As far as comfort in hand, the pocket clip does have a slight hot spot right about here, but otherwise I don't really have any complaints really as far as the ergonomics. The finger choil up here is really looks only. Anybody with a finger larger than that of an infant is going to get their finger cut on the bottom of the blade. So I would not suggest using the finger choil up here to choke up with at all. Not to mention, if you do choke up, you're not really gaining any extra leverage, because being so small, there's not really anything to gain from it. Let's see. It does have a raised G10 backspacer, just a little bit, but at the same time, it's kind of close enough to the frame where some people might actually even gripe about it just a little bit as just simply not being flush. So if you consider that to be a quality issue for the fact of there's nothing particularly standing out about it, that it should be flush, keep that in mind. For those of you that pay attention to where a knife is made, this is made in Taiwan. So the Spydercos that are made in Taiwan typically tend to be a little bit higher end than some of the China-made knives. So there is that. Let's see. As far as the branding, there's not really too much going on here. They do have the Brad Southard logo here, Taichung, Taiwan, written down here. And then you have the Spyderco logo and S30V down here. So not really too much branding. Overall, I really just didn't care for it. It really didn't ring. Can't speak. Words are hard. But it just didn't really ring any bells with me when I started using it. And like I said, the pocket clip alone is actually enough to start grating on my nerves. I don't really care for these wire pocket clips at all. But overall, it is a very high quality knife. I would recommend it to other people. The only true thing that I didn't like at all as far as functionality goes would be completely in this liner, which I already said how it was fairly thin, and so I would only use it for light to medium cutting chores, but also it's somewhat difficult to access. You can actually kind of skip over the liner if you're not deliberately going for it with a lot of pressure, because it just doesn't really have anything really sticking out, and the teeth on here don't really do much to truly grab onto your thumb, so that does become a bit of a problem if you're trying to quickly disengage the knife. So just keep that in mind. It's not the worst thing on the planet, but you do want to keep it in mind. I find that I more use my nail to truly get a purchase on it. The jimping up top is not really effective at all. It's not the standard Spyderco jimping that borderline is a cheese grater. So it's not quite that good. It does provide a little bit of traction, but not enough to write home about. The G10 jimping down here, because it does have a little bit, really your thumb doesn't even fall on it. The only way that it would is if you choke down in the finger choil down here and risk slicing your pinky all to hell and back. So really the jimping down there is completely useless, and it makes no sense. So overall, this knife is a quality design, but it does have its faults that I didn't care for, aesthetically and functionally, but for me it was more aesthetically that I didn't care about it. Overall, I believe that this was running about $170, I do believe, and But yeah, for that price point, I feel like you can get better knives for the deal. I just didn't think that it brought all that much to the table for what you get for 170 bucks. Honestly, the Kaiser Gemini I felt did a lot better for the exact same price point. It has a lot of the same style features on it, and I just felt that for the same price point, the Kaiser Gemini did a lot better. So I'm going to cut it off here. I don't want to get too negative about the knife that I didn't really care about. But yeah, so as always, stay safe.